Welcome to Uprising. On today's episode, we discuss the rise of Francisco Franco, the general that took Spain back to fascism, monarchy, and violated the human rights of his citizens. It's going to be a long episode. We're going to talk about a lot of different and very, very important things here on our first episode. And I do want to talk a little bit about why we start off our first ever season, first ever episode of Uprising by talking about Franco. It is because, well, I just didn't know much about him. And I thought this is something that I should really research about and find out more about so I could tell more people about it and spread the word about what happened, because I feel like so much of the kind of conceptual American way history is taught in schools is World War II, the Civil Rights Movement. It's not really a big thing. Like, we don't take a look at the chaos that happened in World War II after Europe, in Europe after World War II. It is just something that is not really talked about at all whatsoever. And I think it'd be really, really cool to finally find out a little more about that. So that is what we're going to do today. And we start, of course, by talking about the man's come up, his rise to power. And it is a long rise. We start, though, with Francisco Franco's early years. He was born in December 4th, 1982. He was a winter baby in El Ferrol, Spain, and he was really a big guy with the Navy. His family went back many, many years with the Navy, so he was a little bit kind of high class about that, but above all here, he really respected tradition. That was a big, big part of what made him him. And this kind of early background, we'll talk a little bit more about it, but he was always described as a very kind of quiet, serious, steadfast guy, especially all throughout his youth. He had a very tight relationship with both his studies and his mother, which is always nice to see. Love a good mama's boy. Of course, in a fascist dictator, but still. This is, I think, really where early on, thanks to Francisco's mother here, she really kind of planted the seeds for his ideology by really imbuing it with him a deep sense of kind of the church and the need for tradition and the need for ideology. Gave him that kind of traditional religious kind of conservative ideology very, very early on, and that kind of flustered from there. He was very kind of much a kind of guy who didn't like to see things kind of out of whack from very early on in life. He wasn't always very kind of outgoing, though. He didn't really gain the cunning that he would later show in life until a little bit later. You may wonder why exactly there is, of course, where's the other side of the family? Where's the big dad? Well, he was much more interested in getting drunk and engaging in some extramarital activities, which could be another big contributing factor why Franco kind of saw this kind of lifestyle that his father led, and any kind of rebellious or kind of unorthodox, untraditional, unstraight-laced life as being kind of very immoral and wrong and indicative of you as a broader person. Which I suppose in his case it is, but that is just a very, very bad example of taking daddy issues too far. Although you can't really pertain everything that Franco did back to daddy issues, but honestly, you can really make a pretty good case, and also just parental, the way he was brought up, I guess in general. But you can make a case that kind of laid the foundation. So El Ferrol, which was obviously the town where Franco grew up, was a port town. It was a very, very much an active kind of seafaring place, and also the home of the Navy. No surprise, because his family was a Navy family. And being that his family was so tied to the Navy, the fact that it got its ass handed to them right around the turn of the century, 1898, was when they lost the Spanish-American War, had to give up Puerto Rico, Cuba, all those big colonies. Remember the Maine? Of course, the rallying cry that launched us into that easy victory, big step on the U.S. path to becoming an empire, but and really establishing itself as the global hegemon it is today. It was really where we got into the game as well, and we kind of flexed our influence on another big power. But yeah, it was a big embarrassment on the other side for Spain, and it was a period of mourning. It was a period of shame And it was a period where the Navy wasn't doing too hot. A lot of the officers were kind of stationary. A lot of them were kind of not really kind of trenched in place. There was an opportunity for upward mobility for someone who was definitely going to join the Navy like young Franco was. This turn of the century time when all the ships were kind of returning to port, Spanish Navy wasn't doing too hot. This was what many historians will say that it was a big turning point and a big push further to kind of restore the glory, restore the honor of kind of imperial Spain as a militarial force, an imperial force on the global stage. And he, of course, had to do that by getting into the Navy, which proved to be kind of tough because things were so limited. It's the first day of school. That was likely how young Franco felt in his first day in military school. It did not go well. And he was bullied. He was weak. He was skinny. The training instructors actually had to modify his rifle to make it smaller for him. But he wanted it. He was committed. Give him credit. And he persisted, and it's really, frankly, an inspiring story. He really showed hard work, and that was what got him through military school. He was bullied. He was kind of tossed around a little bit, being the younger one, being the weaker one, of course. But he was clearly able to make it through. And graduated from the military school, the Toledo Military Academy, in the year 1910 at, age 17. So already he was out there getting ready to go, and he quickly had bigger sights on his mind. He graduated, of course, at 251 out of 312 in his class, but little did he know, there was many more great opportunities waiting for him ahead. And guys, if you're struggling out there in school, just remember, Franco, he proves you wrong. You don't have to be great in school to be successful out in life, because he was about to get into some serious big-time business. At this time, the Spanish military was relatively saturated. So in Spanish Morocco, seemed to be the perfect place that really Franco could go, kind of modestly placed guy, not too good, not too hot, heading out to the Spanish Morocco to maybe get a little bit of experience under his wing in 1912, again at the tender age of 19, getting out there, getting some experience, trying to get a sense that maybe he can move his way up through the ranks at kind of the bottom, the last feet on the human centipede of the Spanish Empire. The bottom of the totem pole was really the Spanish Morocco, but he, surprise, surprise, was able to find his place. So, just like that, Francisco Franco, the young boy, was going to Morocco. And it was going to be a big change for him, because he would quickly rise up through the ranks and be promoted to lieutenant. Good for him. And here he would actually, no surprise, find a chance to grow and expand a little bit by committing brutal colonial oppression against local people and really taking the tough to his own troops. So he was engaged in this battle against the Rif Mountain tribe. This is a local tribe that was kind of an upstart against them, while it was sent to go tamp down the rebellion of the native people in colonial Spanish Morocco, and was leading a group of troops where one of the troops refused to eat his rations. It was a local Moroccan helping out, and he became dissatisfied with the way Franco was leading him. Franco had him executed by firing squad, again, for refusing to eat rations. Yeah, normal guy. So anyway, we have this really kind of origin story, turning point period, where we have Franco really starting to take that tenacity and turn it into just really a set of, shall we say, balls. There's no other way to say it, that would define him, I'd say, for the rest of his career. In Morocco also, Franco got his start on something that would really kind of become a career-defining trait for him, which is killing civilians. He also used terror tactics very commonly to dispel the rebellion. He was largely kind of considered as someone who, well, kind of insane, kind of a really serious and hair on fire type of guy. If you pissed him off, he would really go to bat for the group. He would go to bat for the whole. That was something that his men kind of saw in him, because he was he was the type of guy that would, let's just say, lead from the front. He would not be the Ramsey Bolton watching from the sidelines, surrounded by all of his best men or all of his closest guards, whatever. He was someone who would go out there right away with his hair on fire and guns ablazing. Actually, in Africa, the Spanish colonial officers, they were there to do there was no internal investigation back in colonial Spain because somebody killed a little civilians. They were affectionately called down there in Africa, him and his fellow Spanish officers were called Le Novios de la Muerte, which means the boyfriends of death. It was after that, in 1917, time for a little bit of a vacation. Spanish Morocco getting a little bit depressing, or maybe they like what they saw back home in Spain, that he was quickly sent home to break up a miners' strike. Yeah, again, record scratch. Turn off that music there. He broke up a miners' strike in a very beautiful way. Oh, and he got engaged, though. That's very nice. But right quickly back to Morocco for this very important event that happened on June 28th, 1918. Franco was shot. It was all in the course of a normal battle, but no surprise. Guess who? Apparently the story goes. I don't know how true this is, but the story goes he was in the kind of field hospital, forward operating base, and the doctor was like, "No, it's futile. It's no point treating you. It's not going to work. It's resistance. It's futile. You almost are screwed here." And he pretty much used all of his remaining strength, took his rifle up, pointed at the doctor, and said, "If you don't treat me, this bullet is going in your head." And of course, against all odds, and I think very unfortunately for the people of Spain and humanity, he recovered. So, what was next for Franco? He got to lead a new group, an exciting new opportunity called the Tercio. Well, they were kind of this kind of offshoot of the Spanish military, kind of a forward operating group, a kind of group that did things the normal military might get too bogged down to do. And this, like a lot of Franco's early military career, was kind of emphasized on the fact that they didn't fear death and were willing to die at any time. It was kind of a big thing of Franco kind of beating his chest and creating this image of invincibility at a very early time, saying in the credo of the group, the only thing that you will come back, if you challenge us, the only thing that will remain of your village are smoldering ashes and the corpses of men, women, and children. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but you do get the importance of that message. So this group was a pretty brutal group, but in effect, it was incredibly brutal and, unsurprisingly and unfortunately, very effective. Things were looking up for young Franco during this time. At 33, in 14 years spent in the Spanish Morocco, he had already progressed himself up the ranks through brigadier general, and he returned home to marry his betrothed, whose name I think was like Carmen or something. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, he was progressing fast, and he was back in Spain, ready to do some damage. He had established himself as a brutal, ruthless, effective commander and purveyor of Spanish interests abroad. What could possibly go wrong for this guy? To top it all off, he was also something of a celebrity at home, too, appearing alongside other prominent military figures in a film, and was married to an elite. Carmen was quite well connected with the Spanish figures, dignitaries, celebrities. But the thing was, Franco, as we told you earlier, he was not a guy to go out and party. He was not a guy to kind of live that debauched, as he saw it, lifestyle. He was a devout Christian. He was someone who was very much in the camp of go home early, make your bed in the morning, eat health. Like, he was not the type of guy who was going to do something too crazy.